Hello guys, welcome back. This is the Unreal Dev Diaries with Dix, unedited and unscripted. So last time, actually let me open this. Yeah. Um so you see this is ticked now. So last time we actually, well, if you noticed, it's a lot has been rearranged here and updated in certain areas, like these being planned to be modified. So like a weapon system is going to be modified, the weapon upgrades is going to be modified, and the bosses and enemies are going to be modified, and mainly because of the shop. So the shop has actually affected a lot of things in the game, but in a good way, because it's giving it it's showing how its roots are going to spread throughout the game, basically. Yeah, then we have some UI improvement additions here. So like the interact button will be shown here, the item pickup and the UI for that, the inventory screens, which I'll show you now, the main menu and start screen, the pause menu, the save and load game. So you know, like the basics of the menus in the game. And then we're gonna be refactoring the code, and also the overall finishes come after that. So basically supporting more examples, basically making more examples of the different consequences that take place when certain dialogue is passed or certain events take place. And that also goes down to the world states, so like the relationships between certain things and people, sound design, the finishing graphics, controller support, tutorials, so you know, all that other things that can be added on later. Because like you see, we're gonna be, when that is done, then we're gonna have our alpha demo build 0.1. I don't know why Excel does this. It should actually be like that. Yeah. So yeah, this is like the cutoff of this development that we have going on here. Then everything is going to be added onto this. So these things here might not even be added into this, but this is just like the things that I would like to show in the demo to give like a good idea of the overall game that will be made, you know. So yeah, so up here we also have some additions. So like before, the checkpoint system is gonna have its own menu in the pause menu, in the main menu, basically showing where you want to spawn, like I even said, yeah, like the bonfire menu from Souls games, where you're at the checkpoint and you get to choose where you want to travel to. Or you can actually have an option where you pause the game and say restart at the checkpoint. You obviously like lose your progress because you will be taken out and put it at the checkpoint. But yeah, the way you respawn, like you've seen before, it doesn't reset the game. So if you maybe stuck at a if you maybe like finished a side route somewhere else and you just want to get back to the main route where the checkpoint is on, then you can just restart at the checkpoint, and then that's the easy way to get back, you know. Certain features like that. And also having the "you died" message have spawn at last checkpoint capabilities and quit or whatever you want there. So yeah, but yeah, I'll cover what has been covered in the, or what hasn't been covered, but we touched on the last one, which is the shop. So the shop, I'll go into the section here, but the shop, this is just the UI for the shop and the functionality. So if we go into Unreal, then you can see we still have our three NPCs here. So let's just get into that. So yeah, this one is obviously the yes and no. Let me actually make this full screen. The yes and no, which is gonna work like this. Yeah, yes and no. But I'm thinking of making the yes and no actually work like the discuss. So you see how the options over here, then we have discuss and exit and stuff like that. Yeah, some questions or some answers from the player is not always going to be just yes and no. It can be yes and no, but there could be a third option over here, like maybe say nothing or say a third option or whatever. But this is going to be reused in discuss. So since this is being reused in discuss, that yes and no, where yes and no comes up year and year, it doesn't really have to have that functionality. It can, but it's good to reuse this if we can, to keep it like more simple when it comes to like dialogue. So there's an element of like dialogue happening here, like the text happening here, then the things that the player can choose in this section, and then discuss and everything in this section. So it's almost like dialogue will always take place like that. So there's not going to be like yes and no here while there's this happening here. So yeah, so this also works like yes and no, where you choose an option, then it'll cement you in that option, and then this one, and add that information to the character that he has answered, or he or she has answered that question. And then maybe, yeah, I mean, like, maybe we should try to sneak past them can be the second option, where it'll also cement them in that. So yeah. So see, if I click discuss, it's replacing those options. I know we touched on this before. I'm just explaining how the interaction system is going to be like verbatim. You know what I mean? So yeah, so this is where you can just like chat as much as you want in here. And yeah, you can chat as much as you want there. So there's like a separate separate section to this speaking section here, because if you click on one of these, an event will take place. But here, it's just going through dialogue. So similar to that, if we go to the third NPC over here, which is the shop, I've actually copied that discuss. So don't mind this dialogue over here. This is just placeholder text taken from the second NPC. So you see the same options here. So the person can have a conversation with you, but can also have the ability to shop. It doesn't always have to be like that. It can also be like once you interact with the person, you're immediately in the shop. But if they're a more deeper character, then yes, they will have these different things and discuss. So yeah. So now you can kind of see how like I'm trying to form the most complicated form of that NPC, because the NPCs are actually going to be simple throughout the game, but like working out the worst case scenario, you can see like how the shop can coexist with the discuss, or the discuss can coexist with the text over here, and the text over here can coexist with the yes and no options here, or the three options over here that will do certain things. So yeah, so that's basically the whole like interaction system like being used here. So we have the first NPCs yes and no, we have the second NPCs discuss, so yeah, and then we have the third NPCs shop. And if I click shop, then now we're in the shop. So surprise to see I got ways to someone to place like this. So there'll be some dialogue that you can say over here, and then this will be the shop here. So you can see there's nothing in the shop right now, but I'm going to explain now the shop system works in a sec. So you can see here, so I'll start from the top. Oh, and I just want to show you, you can go back and shop and go back, and from anywhere where the shop button is still here, you can access the shop. So do you see? But when you're busy talking with somebody, you won't be able to access these, and you can access it whenever you want, really, but just not in those options when like the main talking points are happening. So these are like side talking points, discuss and shop, that will take you to their own sections, but this is like, you know, cemented in events and stuff like that. So yeah, so we're in the shop, and the shop, yeah, these are all placeholder text, but it's also modifiable text through code. So this can also be like same how this is modifiable text that is pulling in from the dialogue tree, and the options over here being pulled in from the player options tree. This will also be pulled in from the shops tree. So you see like yeah, to pull in whatever merchant is this NPC's merchant over here will be so like the shop merchant's name. So this is all variable text is what I'm trying to say. The shop merchant's name will be here. The store item will be here, so you can if you hover over or click on these items, then you'll be able to see like its description and see certain things about it. So this is the name of the item over here. This will change from upgrade item or cosmetic item. But yeah, depending on if you click here or you click here. So these are the upgrade items. These are cosmetic items, as you can see here by the headings. Oh, and if you used it already, if you already bought it from the store, then it'll say fitting used, and you won't be able to buy it again, because each fitting, like each upgrade that you buy, requires a certain fitting. So yeah, it's weird to explain this without like going into it, but yeah, I'll I'll explain it now. I'm almost done. So yeah, this will show like requires, and the name of the boss will be put in here, or the name of the fitting will be put in here. Fittings to be attached, and then this is the description of it. So this can be like a little bit of lore, or it can be this is the description of the item itself. But yeah, so this is how it'll work over here. This is the base of it here. So now to explain how this works, okay? So, oh, and we have a confirmation window, which I can show you over here. I think I can show you while it's open. Yeah. Yeah, so there's the shop window over here. And then over here we have the confirmation prompt. Do you see that? So this will show up over here. Use, and then it'll pull in the bosses or the name of the fittings here to attach. So if you pick one of these, then it'll first confirm if you want to use it or not. So if you really want to use it, then it'll show up like that. And then you can choose yes or no, and when you choose yes, it'll attach it and consume the fitting that you picked up, and no will obviously return you back into the shop to decide on others. Yeah. So yeah, let me explain how this this actually works over here. So if we go here into Excel, yeah, that's why you see like the shop is ticked over here, because we have the base of the shop, we have the shops button to access the shop, and we have the confirmation button to just ask the player if they really want to use the shop's item. So yes, this is how it works. So the shop system, it's weird explaining this now, I'm sorry. But the shop system works like this. It requires enemies. So this is the things that it needs to work, which gives you an idea. So the enemy drops their fittings. So fittings is basically the materials used to make upgrades. So if you get the material, you take it to the shop dude, and he will use that materials to make your upgrade. But certain upgrades, like say you defeat this unique boss, and he has one material that is specific to him. So the boss's names, and then material. So like Jeff's material. And using Jeff's material, you can make Jeff's upgrade. But he has 3 different types of upgrades. So say he's a character that uses a rope, he uses an axe, and he uses a hammer. So now you can choose, do you want to upgrade to give yourself a rope, a hammer, or an axe? But you can only use the fitting once, so you only have 3 things to choose, and once you choose one, it will cement it in that one because you already consumed the fitting. So you get how you're exchanging the materials that you got from enemies for upgrades. So yeah, using the shop system that we just went into now. So or the shop UI base, whatever. So yeah, so the shop system requires an enemy to drop their fittings. This is what it needs to work. So it requires the enemy to drop their fittings, and then access the inventory, yeah, access the inventory, which is comprised of the equipment and the fittings. So I'll show you actually. Whoops, I actually moved something there, but yeah. Oh, so yeah, here's also a way of like showing what it could also look like. Let me actually show you like this for cosmetic. See, so cosmetic can also be fit over here, just like that. So if it was a cosmetic item, then you would click on it and then it'll show cosmetic item like that. And if it was an upgrade item, then it'll show it like that. So do you see how that'll change? But yeah, besides that, don't know what that's doing there. Besides that, and then yeah, you confirm over here. But yeah, the inventory will have fittings. So this will show the fittings that you have picked up already. So fittings that will upgrade your character and fittings that will add cosmetics. So when you pick up something, when you pick up one of the fittings in the game, then it'll be added to this inventory screen over here. And then you see there's a equipment tab. So the equipment tab is where you equip the items. This will actually be the main tab, and fittings will be there, so you can click there to get into fittings. So you'll see it'll show since in the beginning you could only have 3 fittings each, like or at a time. That's the limit. So you wouldn't want there to be too many upgrades at once, but there are certain events that'll take place that can increase how many upgrades you can have in your character at once. But yeah, so that's why I have like 3 selected here. You can see like the red is the ones that have been attached, and if it's been attached, it'll actually say attached. So different to the shop where its fitting is used. That's when you already use the fitting and you can't, like if you click on a block like this that's null, or that is that kind of like dimmed, then yeah, you already use that fitting, or you don't have the correct requirements, and they'll say it requires you to have this fitting. So you can see what the shop merchant is able to sell, and then you can see what it requires to use to buy that item. So if you don't have the fitting, then they'll obviously say what you need to get the fitting, and if you do have the fitting already, then it'll show fittings used. So I think you get that. Yeah. So there's the equipments and the fittings tab of your inventory. So yeah, so you collect the fittings. It comes here, which is basically the materials to make the items, to make the upgrade items. And then here it shows you what you have equipped. So you can equip the different upgrades here and the different cosmetic items here. Yeah. And you can only equip what has been fitted on or attached by one of the shopkeepers. So those shopkeepers are actually more like workshop people, like mechanics, that give you the ability to attach things using the fittings that you have acquired. So when you when you acquire the upgrade, then you can choose, you can equip and unequip different upgrades like as freely as you want. So if you want to switch from a charge shot to a far shot, and you can't have them equipped at the same time, then you can do that on the fly if you want. I'm thinking of if it's too overpowered to change them on the fly, then maybe I'll make it where you can only change your equipment or your upgrades. You can still view your equipment, but you can only change your upgrades when you're out of battle or when you're not being targeted or something like that. Just so you can't just go from one build to another build like on the fly. Maybe it'll be too overpowered, but if it's not, then it's a cool feature to have. So yeah, so that's how the inventory system is working over here. So let me just go down the actual list of the things that will be required to make the shop system. So the shop system comprises of fittings. So I'll need to make 3 different fittings, 3 different materials that'll be used to make the the upgrades. So I'd say 3 to start off with, because we're just testing out how it's gonna work. So blink jets, which is gonna be used for dashing. So it's basically jets that'll be attached to the side of the chair, the wheelchair now, like keeping it towards the law. Yeah, so it'll be attached on the sides of the wheelchair to like blast it from side to side to like give a dash ability. Yeah, and then we have the hydraulic launcher, which will be used for charge shots. So it's a hydraulic system that holds the bullet that you're shooting and charging it more to give it more power when it's launched. So that gives the charge shot its ability. And then construct claws fittings, which almost like a construction vehicle, the one with the claws, using that to give a melee attack. So these are 3 materials used for these upgrades. But I'll get into the upgrades. So yeah, we need the fittings, and then we need certain enemies, so like mini bosses and bosses that will drop fittings. So only prominent characters will drop fittings. So it's almost like in Dark Souls or in Sekiro, where certain enemies will drop like prayer beads, or like remembrances, or great souls. And that great souls can be used to make boss weapons or stuff like that. But instead of making boss weapons, instead of upgrading your character, you are upgrading your character, but in a sort of different kind of way. But almost like boss weapons, if you get my meaning. But yeah, if you didn't play Dark Souls or whatever, then it's just basically dropping the material to make the upgrade. So yeah, inventory UI. The next thing that we'll need, basically, for the shop system is the inventory UI, comprising of the equipment tab and the fittings tab. So like I showed you over here, we have that already. Like, we have it set out, but it's just not imported into the game yet. Like, the shop system is imported into the game, but we just have to do the same thing with the inventory system to do the same. Oh, and this look and feel is just a placeholder, so this will be themed to the game. Yeah. So after getting the equipment tab, do you see how this is like playing out? But yeah, I'll summarize this when I'm done. Then the collected fittings that the enemies dropped will be added to the inventory, the player's inventory. So it'll be added to the fitting section. So the enemy will drop the fitting, you loot it using your interact button or whatever, and then it'll go into the player's inventory, and then they can see it in the fitting section. So they'll be able to see it here in fittings, the one that you collected, and then you can use that to convert into an upgrade. So there's 3 upgrades, like I mentioned, to use in this example: the dash using the blink jets fittings, the charge shot using the hydraulic launcher fittings, and slash using the construct claws fittings. And you'll be using the shop NPC shop, like we showed, to transact fittings for upgrades. And then after that, it can be auto equipped after transaction, so that'll be an optional setting. So once you purchase the upgrade, once you transact and get the upgrade, it'll be put onto your character immediately. You can have that set off in case you still want the upgrade, but you don't want to have it equipped right now. You still like the build you have on your character right now. But yeah, so that'll be like an optional setting. Attach fittings to be added to the inventory, so it'll be added to the equipment section. So it'll go from the fitting section of the inventory to be transacted at the shop, and then transferred to the equip section to be able to be equipped as an upgrade now. So yeah, and the last thing that the shop system will be able to do is the ability to equip and unequip a maximum of 3 upgrades at a time. And then others say here, this limit could be modified by certain upgrades, like an upgrade that adds 3 or more or 4 slots for upgrades. So yeah. So that's basically the shop system right there. So this will be the next thing that I'll be working on. But yeah, you basically get the idea of how it is. Like, I'll repeat it one more time. You probably do know what I mean, but I'm just like, making sure it's very transparent. So you collecting on like non-law terms, you'll be collecting materials dropped by prominent enemies like mini bosses and bosses. You take that materials, which you can also see in your inventory in the fitting section. You'll take those materials and you'll give it to a shop owner. The shop, and using the shop menu, you'll be able to make those materials into one of the upgrades that he has at that store. He or she or whatever has at that store. And the same goes for cosmetics. And once you use up that materials, you won't have that material anymore, but you'll have the upgrade now. And the upgrades can be equipped and unequipped in the equipment tab. And equipping these will give you different upgrades like dash and charge shot and slash, using certain materials to make these three things. So yeah, and then there's the optional thing to auto equip after a transaction. But yeah, that's basically it. So you'll see this in action in the next diary video. So yeah, so then following that, my mouse is like way too close to my keyboard. Following that, we have the add information. So you can see the the interaction system has been like modified like pretty much here, mainly because of the shop system. But yeah, after the shop system is done, then we'll do this was here already, but like add information to the player character based on choices made. So like we have the discuss, or we have the yes or no, based on what you choose in yes or no or in certain discussions. It'll add the information of that interaction to the player character. So each NPC, when you interact with them, will before you talk to them, it'll read the information on the player. And if the information on the player has certain things to it, the NPC will respond in certain ways, or events will follow in certain ways because of the things that are being read on the character. So say in the scenario, there's like there's three dudes over here, and talking to number 2 before talking to number 1 affects number 3 or affects number 1. You know what I mean? So it's like different, or buying an upgrade by the shop affects how these guys see you. Maybe this guy will be like, oh, I like that you have an upgrade, and this guy will say, oh, I hate that you have an upgrade, or something like that. Like they see what you have collected on your character, and they are responding to that. So that's how that works. Yeah. So I'll just go into it by saying speech options followed by events, a remembrance function that adds information to the player character for the choice later on, friend and foe outcomes, so they can be people that view you in a good way and a bad way. So it's almost like a karma system that you don't really see, but you make the karma system by choosing certain things. Yeah. So that's what that is there. And then following that, we have the cleaning up systems and UI. So that's just almost like refactoring the code, but that's making it easier to deal with when more and more NPCs come into the system. So right now, the dialogue tree is actually being kept inside. It's being kept inside the tank class. So it is on the player character where it's being fetched from, because that's how it's being interacted with. But it can be pulling from a separate class to make sure it's not too convoluted and too congested. Because each NPC is gonna have their own dialogue tree. Each shop NPC will have their own shop. and the player itself will have their own options to talk to people, to talk to certain NPCs. So like an NPC will basically give the options that the player can talk about, and if he has a shop, he will also contain his own shop items. So yeah, it's basically sorting it out to make it a more cleaner system. And then there's some UI blips, like when the go back flashes, so like just cleaning up that, and then redoing the UI buttons. So basically the way I have it now is just with these basic widget buttons, like this Unreal's buttons over here, but I'm planning on making them into this placeholder theme over here. So you can see it actually over here, where I put it into a box, and you can choose from the 3 options. And then there's discuss, shop, go back and exit, like we have over here. So there's discuss, and then go back and exit, and so they will also like disappear, and they will switch out like they're switching out here, but in this format here. So you can see there's the yes and no, say nothing, and yeah, that's a discuss over there, and that's just nothing over there. So yeah, so that's how that'll be that'll be displayed. So it is designed in a way. It just needs to be applied. So once the shop system is done, once events will be added to certain choices made by the NPC, by the player, and added from the NPC, the information from the NPC to the player character, that will complete this. And then cleaning up the code, and cleaning up some of the UI, and adding the UI buttons and replacing the UI buttons. When that is done, then the interaction section will be complete. So then this whole system can be reused on other NPCs and other entities in the game that will allow them to do these things. Yeah. So like we said already, like the weapon system will come after that. Having the fire rate and charge shots and melee attacks and all of that. So I know that the shop system requires at least 3 upgrades, but I'm not gonna make the upgrades. I'm just gonna make the functionality of the whole fittings, turning fittings into upgrades using the shop menu kind of thing. So maybe I'll actually make examples of these, like actual physical examples of the charge shot and the slash and the dash, just showing that like when an upgrade is equipped, it'll change certain attributes of the player character. So once I equip the dash upgrade, I now get a certain button on the keyboard or on the controller that if I press it, it will do a dash. And if I unequip the upgrade, then I won't be able to dash anymore. Same with the charge shot. Like if I equip the charge shot, now if I hold the click to attack, it will charge it, but if I take the upgrade off, it won't be able to charge. Yeah, so you get the idea of why I need these 3 upgrades first to be implemented. So to make the shop system, I actually need a little bit of the weapon system and the weapon upgrade system and the bosses and enemies system to exist. That's why I say modified, because they'll be touched on, but this will be ultimately modifying them and defining them. So like here you can see adding critical attacks, additional weapons or additional upgrades basically, and then here by weapon upgrades you can see like just saying that the player can equip weapons at the respawn station. That was an idea. Players can switch to can use a button to switch to the different equipped weapons. That's also another idea. So this is like yeah, this will be expanded on once I reach this section, but it definitely needs to be modified. The same with bosses and enemies, because yeah, they need to drop stuff, they need to have their own move sets, they have to have their own health and their own UI and different things, you know, victory message when they die, you know, certain things like that. But yeah, But we already see now the weapon system is in the game. We already see now the like here we have the weapon system, which is just like shooting one bullet at any speed I wanted to. And then we have the enemies, you know, they die, they can drop things if you kill them. And then we have the bosses, which are different to the normal enemies, and they do more damage and they have much higher health. Yeah, so these systems exist already. The weapon system, the enemy system here, and the bosses over here. The only thing that doesn't exist right now, but will exist when I get the shop, is the upgrades, which is over here. So you can see how this will all basically be, you know, completed together. So yeah, but it'll take certain steps to complete them, and then after that, then all the main systems and essentials will be completed. So once everything in this section is done, then the essential systems of the game will be complete, and the rest will just be the menus and the UI and the interact and the health bars. So like just things that are visual. Basically, visual UI will come next, and then we gotta sort out our code to make it simple and work better with each other. And then that's the overall finishing. Like I said, the sound, the graphics, certain things to modify certain other things to make it work better or give better examples of that, controller support, the tutorial of the game, and you know what I mean. So this is not really needed to make the game function. This is all the systems here is needed to make the game function. So once this is done, then we'll have those systems in place, and then this will be added on afterwards. So you can see basically the roadmap of the production over here. So yeah, so I made this video mainly to update on where I am and what things have changed, because the shop was basically the only thing that's been expanded on. Others been doing a lot of planning and a lot of reordering certain things, but yeah, now we have a better road to somewhere, you know, and having these designs come up, so you can actually see certain things of the UI that still needs to be developed. Like we touched on that, but we could have like the gameplay UI. So the health bars and the maintenance bars are obviously gonna be redesigned. There's other things here, like the weapons will be shown up here, like what upgrades you have, the cooldowns of the different upgrades abilities will be shown there. Yeah, you can see like the enemies. So like if you're attacking an enemy, there'll be like a targeting thing, or like showing the name of the enemy and its health bar. The boss showing its health bar and also the name of the enemy, and you know, interact with X. So that'll be if you're coming up to an NPC, it'll say like press this button to interact, or press this button to talk, or you know what I mean, something like that. So there's different UI scenes that I have that I need to cover. So yeah, this will all be in this section down here, the UI improvements and additions. So once the systems are done, and then I'll get into further designing the UI. I just designed this UI here just to get a feel for what designing UI, taking it from AI and putting it into Unreal would be like, which I shown like what that actually will be like in here. So yeah, so this is basically using AI to import these kind of assets. So it works, and you know, I like how it can be transferred like that. So yeah, the other things like checkpoint menu, the checkpoint warp menu when you want to warp to different checkpoints, the different options, so the option screens, the main menu screen, the start screen, the pause screen, video options, sound options, control options. So yeah, you can see I have like a bunch of like inspiration artwork over here. Yeah, Woody and Sekiro, a lot of inspiration over there, you know. But yeah, but you can see how it will be able to change, or what UI style could be used based on like what the inspiration is. So yeah, so this stuff will eventually change, but this is just a placeholder at the moment. So yeah, so this has been the diary. Yeah, so this mainly an update, mainly showing you what has been changed and how the roadmap has been laid out. So yeah, next we'll touch on the shop system, and then I'll show you how that works in depth. I know my explaining might be like repeating random things, or like touching on a topic before I get to another topic, but like I feel like the best way I explain is with visuals. So once I get the visuals done and the actual functionality of the shop system, I'll show it to you, and you have a better idea of how this works. But I'm sure you know how it works, but yeah. But yeah, thanks for watching. This has been another Unreal Dev Diary with Dex, and see you guys later. Bye.